You're trying to learn German, but you've not really got anyone to practice with. Well, you can't talk to yourself, can you? Well, if you follow the tips I'm going to share with you today, you absolutely can. I've developed some new templates that will help you take your German up a notch all by yourself. Grüß Gott, hallo, ich bin Billy Badger, and today I want to show you exactly how to practice German even if you've got no one to talk to. Like we did before, we're going to take one very simple sentence and then practice making lots of different versions of it. And this time we've got 3 different levels and 3 different skill sets to work on: sentence structure, different tenses, and modal verbs. And if all of that sounds pretty easy, I'll bet there's something new for you to learn here anyway. First up is sentence structure or word order, something that a lot of learners have trouble with, no matter what their level. And this is what we are trying to achieve, gradually adding in new elements each time. We'll be adding in when phrases, how phrases, and where phrases, and then twisting and turning our sentence through different forms so that by the time we're done, we'll be able to structure sentences in our sleep. Let's look at an example. We want to start with something easy because it will soon get more complex with each step around that circle. For example, ich trinke einen Kaffee. That's pretty simple. I'm drinking a coffee. Nothing too complicated there at all. Then we'll add in a time phrase. This is a good opportunity for you to make sure that you know all those different time phrases and frequency phrases. And I've got lots of examples for you in this week's free download. So check it out at the link in the description. Let's go with heute. Ich trinke heute einen Kaffee. How is our next step, and this can be as simple as mit Freunden, with friends. Ich trinke heute mit Freunden einen Kaffee. We'll add in a place phrase next. Maybe some kind of location makes the most sense. Ich trinke heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee. By now, we've added in just about as many elements as we can. So let's try some different ways of transitioning to another clause. We can use a connector. Dann trinke ich heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee. Or a simple coordinating conjunction would work as well. Oder ich trinke heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee. What about a subordinating conjunction? Wenn ich heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee trinke. And then we could transition to our next clause. Adding in a modal verb is our next step. Ich will heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee trinken. And finally, we can enter the world of the conditional with the subjunctive. Ich würde heute mit Freunden bei Starbucks einen Kaffee trinken. Lots of different ways to vary our sentence so we can get used to the sound of sentences with different elements. Now, in our next drill, we're going to work through tenses. Let's take the same sentence, ich trinke einen Kaffee, and then we'll move back in time through some different past tense forms. Ich habe einen Kaffee getrunken. That's the perfect tense. Or perhaps the simple past tense form, ich trank einen Kaffee. Now, moving even further back into time, we're going to want to use the pluperfect, which combines our last 2 forms. Ich hatte einen Kaffee getrunken. This leads us into the double perfect, a form more common perhaps in southern parts of the German-speaking world. Ich habe einen Kaffee getrunken gehabt. Unusual, but nevertheless a good one to know. Let's add in another verb now to our original sentence to put it into the future tense. So, ich werde einen Kaffee trinken. Now, I'm sure you know this already, but there's another future tense that allows us to make the assumption that we will have had a coffee by some specific point in the future. So this is what we have. Ich werde einen Kaffee getrunken haben. Let's take a step back and add in a modal verb. Ich muss einen Kaffee trinken. I have to have a coffee. Let's keep going, putting this into the simple past. Ich musste einen Kaffee trinken. And we can do the same thing, though, in the perfect tense, which again is fairly common down south. Ich habe einen Kaffee trinken müssen. Notice how there's two infinitives at the end of the sentence. Well, this has introduced us to the perfect tense of modals, which is handy because we're going to get even crazier with modal verbs in the next section. Let's start with another simple sentence, maybe ich muss etwas essen. We can move straight into a subordinate clause just to see what happens with those verbs. Weil ich etwas essen muss. Both verbs at the end. Now we want the simple past form. Ich musste etwas essen. And from here, it's an easy step into the subjunctive, not ich musste, but ich müsste etwas essen. I'd have to have something to eat. We can also use the perfect tense of modal verbs that we met in our last examples. Ich habe etwas essen müssen, which is more or less the same as ich musste etwas essen. From here, it's an easy step into the perfect tense subjunctive. So not ich habe etwas essen müssen, but ich hätte etwas essen müssen. In English, this would probably be I should have had something to eat. An assessment that we can make with the benefit of hindsight. Moving on, we get to the same sentence but as a subordinate clause. And it's interesting here to watch what happens to that conjugated verb. Weil ich etwas hätte essen müssen. Here you'll notice that that verb hätte hasn't gone to the end, but it squeezed itself in before the other two infinitives. Let's move into the future tense. Ich werde etwas essen müssen. I will have to eat something. That's easy enough to understand, but the next in line is the second future tense. Let's see if we can work out what's happening here. Ich muss etwas gegessen haben. Can you work out what we're saying here? Maybe you can't remember having eaten something, but you know you must have. The use of müssen makes this sound like a pretty high probability. Okay, if we add the verb werden, things get even more complex. Ich werde etwas gegessen haben müssen. I will have had to have had something to eat by some time or point in the future. And luckily, that's where we're going to stop this particular exercise. In each case, see how quickly you can move through these. Make sure you know what you're saying in each case and understand the complexities of each sentence. And the idea is to train your brain to run through all these variations without having to think too much. So now it's your turn. Pick one verb that you use every day. Start with a simple sentence and see how far you can go around the circle. If you're just starting out, beginners, I'd just suggest that you do the first 2 or 3 steps. And if you're maybe more intermediate, try to get halfway. Advanced learners, challenge yourself to go the whole way around. And if you'd like some help, I've made free practice templates that you can download from the description below. Use them to guide your own sentences and keep track of your progress. Also danke fürs Zuschauen. Thanks for watching. Bis zum nächsten Mal. See you next time. Tschüss.